Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. In this lesson, inshallah, we'll be going through the poem Earth's Answer, which is the part of Songs of Experience. Earth raised up her head from the darkness dread and drear. Her light fled, stony dread, and her locks covered with grey despair. Present on watery shore, starry jealousy does keep my den. Cold and hoar, weeping over, I hail the father of the ancient men. Selfish father of men, cruel, jealous, selfish fear, can delight chained in night the virgins of youth and morning bears. Does spring hide its joy when buds and blossom grow? Does the sower sow by night, or the plowman in darkness plow? Break this heavy chain that does freeze my bones around, selfish vein, eternal bane, that free love with bondage bound. Okay, ji. So this poem gives human qualities to the earth by presenting it as a woman who has been imprisoned by the selfish father of men. This figure may refer to the strict and punishing God of the Old Testament, or to the way organized religion sometimes presents God as harsh and controlling. Because the poem is not completely clear, people interpret it in different ways. Many readers believe the poem criticizes sexual suppression, excessive control by reason, and the strict rules of organized religion. According to this idea, these forces have restricted freedom, love, and creativity, and as a result, they have trapped both the earth and humanity in darkness and suffering. Okay, with this, we'll begin with the analysis of the first stanza. Earth raised up her head from the darkness, red and grey. Grey means dull and bleak. Her light fled, stony dread, and her locks covered with grey despair. Earth's answer is a reply to Blake's introduction, the poem that begins the Songs of Experience section. In introduction, a bard, a kind of timeless poet who appears throughout Blake's work, urges the earth to arise and restore the world's lost light, saying that humans have fallen from the natural joyful state. In Earth's answer, the earth speaks back. She tries to follow the bard's command, but all she can do is raise up her head. Okay, Earth raised up her head from the darkness, dead and day. So all the earth could do is raise up her head, showing that it takes a huge effort and that she is weak and exhausted. So the earth is covered in darkness, dread, and drear. The repeated d and ra sounds make her sadness and heaviness feel even stronger. Her light has fled, leaving behind only a stony dread instead of fertile, lively soil. Her hair, yani ke locks, is covered with grey despair, meaning she is full of fear and sorrow. sorrow. So the earth should be a vibrant, thriving figure, but the poem shows her as dull, dry, and lifeless, as if all her joy and energy have been drained. In the next stanza, we learn who or what has caused the earth to become so miserable. The second stanza. Prisoned on watery shore, starry jealousy does keep my den cold and hoar. Weeping over, I hear the father of the ancient men. So in the second stanza, the earth starts speaking, and the rest of the poem is told from her point of view. She says she has been imprisoned by the father of the ancient men, which probably refers to the Old Testament God or the way organized religion often presents God as strict, punishing, and controlling. Some background over here would help explain this. William Blake was a very religious man, but he did not agree with the Old Testament God. He believed that organized religion of his time restricted human freedom, imagination, and creativity. So, Father of the ancient man isn't just God as a real being, but more like the way human beings imagine and enforce God's authority. So, it suggests, so in a way, we can say the God of the church. Okay, whether it's real or unreal, but the way the church presents their God with authority and with strictness, that is that is considered when the poet is saying father of the ancient man. So it suggests that people have created a strict, controlling idea of God to make others behave properly or be good. In other words, it is a human made version of God used to restrict freedom and control behavior rather than a loving or nurturing figure. The earth says she is prisoned on watery shore, trapped like an animal in a cold, confined place. The watery shore shows a clear boundary or limit, similar to a passage in the Bible, Jeremiah, where God says the sand is a boundary for the sea. It can roar, but it cannot cross. Blake seems to be criticizing this strict, controlling version of God and the institutions that support it. The poem also mentions starry jealousy. At first, it seems like another figure, acting like a guard to keep the earth trapped. But it is probably another name for the father of the ancient men. Since in Exodus, God says he is jealous and will not allow worship of other gods. Some details in lines 9 and 8 are unclear. Cold and hoar could mean cold and frosty or cold and grey haired. It's not clear who it describes. The earth's prison, which is icy and harsh, या फिर the earth herself, acknowledging her pale, frozen, worn down appearance, या फिर the father of the Asian man, who is often shown as an old man, so Hor could mean grey haired. The weeping in line 9 is also ambiguous. Most likely, it is the earth crying because she is trapped and miserable. Next stanza. Selfish father of men, cruel, jealous, selfish fear can delight, chained in night, the virgins of youth and morning bear. So, in this part of the poem, the earth speaks directly to the father of the ancient men, now calling him the selfish father of men to show how much she dislikes him. She describes his way of thinking as cruel, jealous, and selfish fear. The list of words without conjunctions, without and, makes her criticism feel sharp and angry. She even calls him selfish twice in two lines to emphasize it. Blake used punctuation in unusual ways. So some editions of his books look different. In line 13, a new sentence begins, and line 13 to 15 form a rhetorical question directed at the father of men and anyone reading. Can delight change in night, the virgins of youth and morning bathe? So here's what it means in simpler terms. Delight represents all good things humans and earth should enjoy, like joy, creativity, imagination, love, and pleasure. The earth imagines delight as being chained in darkness or trapped. She asks how this delight could bear or support the virgins of youth and morning. The virgins represent innocence and youth, while morning represents new life, hope, and beginnings. So basically, she's saying, as long as the selfish father of men traps delight, humans cannot live fully or enjoy life as they should. You can also read the question another way. How could youth and innocence endure or enjoy delight when they are trapped in darkness? Everything good, youth, purity, hope would just fade or wither away. No matter how you interpret it, the main idea is clear. Humans live under restrictions and cannot fully be themselves or enjoy life because of the oppressive rule of the selfish father. With this, we move on to the next stanza. Does spring hide its joy when buds? Wait a minute. Yes. Does spring hide its joy when buds and blossoms grow? Does the sower sow by night or the plowman in darkness blow? The earth asks more rhetorical questions to argue against being trapped by the selfish, jealous, and controlling father of men. The first question is, does spring hide its joy when buds and blossoms grow? Here, spring is personified, as if it could feel happiness. It would be ridiculous for spring to hide its joy when flowers naturally bloom. The repeated buds and blossoms makes the line feel lively and full of beauty. There is also a sexual meaning, since flowers and buds suggest growth, procreation, and natural desire, which the poem says are normal and worth celebrating. So lines 18 and 20 ask similar questions about humans. Does the sower sow by the night, or the plowman in darkness plow? A sower plants seeds that will grow into plants or flowers, a creative and life-giving act. The earth is saying, it is ridiculous to think a sower should be ashamed of this work. Similarly, a plowman prepares the soil for planting. The poem asks why such necessary natural work should be done in darkness or secrecy. So Blake repeats words like sour and sow and plowman and plow to show that each person's identity is tied to their work. Just as farmers naturally sow and plow, humans naturally experience desire, joy, and creativity. So trying to repress these natural instincts is as absurd as telling a farmer to work in total darkness. With this, we move on to the final stanza of the poem. Break this heavy chain that does freeze my bones around selfish pain, eternal pain, that free love with bondage bound. So in the last stanza, the earth asks to be freed from the heavy chain that traps her in a cold, dark place. She seems to be speaking not just to the father of men who imprisons her, but also to humankind. The poem suggests that the real chains holding the world back are the restrictive ideas in people's minds, beliefs about sin, sexuality, and a punishing God and other controlling rules. The repeated vowel sounds in break and chain make it feel like the earth is struggling against her bonds as she speaks. The chain keeps her from showing her full beauty. The phrase freezes her bones around shows how empty, lifeless, and painful her condition is. This image is the opposite of the blooming spring from the previous stanza, showing that the earth is withering. In lines 23-24, the earth criticizes the father of men, calling him selfish for the third time and saying he is an eternal being. This means he is a constant cause of suffering or poison, stopping life from growing freely. He keeps free love in bondage, tying it up. The alliteration in bondage bound makes his control feel heavy and violent. Overall, the poem calls on humankind to break free from mental and social chains, to reclaim natural joy, creativity, and vitality, a kind of revolution of both body and spirit. With this, we move on to the theme that is present in this poem, the one and the only theme that is organized religion, desire, and oppression. So, Earth's answer is a reply to Blake's introduction. In introduction, the bard calls on the earth to restore the world's fallen light after the biblical fall. In response, the earth says she cannot do this because she is trapped in darkness by a controlling, jealous God. The poem suggests that organized religion, with its jealousy, selfishness, and repression, has crushed life, joy, and love. The earth appears pale, weak, and despairing, with her light gone and her hair covered with great despair, symbolizing the world's decline. The earth blames the father of ancient men, the strict, the punishing God, and starry jealousy, possibly reason or this God, for keeping her imprisoned. She insists this situation is unnatural, comparing it to spring hiding its joy or planting at night. These images suggest that sexuality, creativity, and joy are natural and they should not be suppressed. With this, we move on to the symbol that is present in this poem, that is tending the land. In the fourth stanza, the earth asks rhetorical questions about spring, the sower, and the plowman to show that natural processes, including sexuality and desire, should not be hidden or ashamed. Just as flowers bloom openly and farmers work in daylight, human love, desire, and creativity are natural and essential parts of Like, okay, G. So with this, we move on to the literary devices that are present in this poem. The first one happens to be alliteration. So, alliteration in the poem makes the Earth's speech more intense and emphasizes her plea for freedom. In the first stanza, the repeated "the" sounds in words like darkness, dread and despair feel heavy and punishing, showing how weighed down the earth is. The repeated R sounds as in dread and rare, uh, which isn't really alliteration, but it is consonance. It adds a low, growling effect. In the second to last stanza, alliteration highlights life and growth. The B sounds in buds and blossoms make spring feel vibrant and full of beauty. The repeated sour and sow and plowman and plow link the workers to their actions, a device called polyptoton, showing that their work and the creativity, desire, and freedom it represents is natural and essential. I hope you remember polyptoton. If you don't, then please look it up. In the final stanza, strong B sound in break this heavy change and bondage bound, make the earth's call for freedom feel urgent and powerful, emphasizing her demand that free love be released from restriction. The next literary device is ascendanton. The poem uses ascendanton, yani ke leaving out conjunctions like and, to make the earth's speech sound urgent, emotional, and desperate, which matches how trapped, hopeless she feels. The first example appears in line 12 when Earth describes the selfish father of men as cruel, jealous, selfish fear. Because there are no connecting words, the adjectives come quickly one after another. This makes the line feel like a burst of anger, as if Earth is so upset that she doesn't pause to organize her words. A similar effect appears in lines 23-24. Selfish, vain, eternal bane. Bane means nuisance, curse. So these short, sharp phrases show Earth's anger and frustration. They sound like direct accusations toward the father who controls her. Putting these cries close together makes her demand for freedom feel stronger and more urgent. The next literary device is personification. Okay. So here the earth is described like a woman who has been imprisoned in a cold, dark place, almost like an animal in a cage. So the earth represents love, desire, joy, youth, creativity, and freedom. In contrast, the father of ancient men, which can symbolize the strict God of the Old Testament or organized religion, represents cruelty, jealousy, selfishness, and control. By turning these ideas into characters, the poem shows their conflict like a struggle between two powerful figures. At the beginning of the poem, the earth looks old, tired, and suffering. She has lost her light, her face shows fear, her hair is covered with grey despair, and icy chains crush her bones. This imagery helps readers imagine how badly she has been controlled and weakened by the father who keeps her captive. The poem also personifies spring, describing it as if it can feel joy when flowers bloom. This suggests that poem is not only talking about the season of spring, but also about how human happiness and new life. But it is also talking about human happiness and new life, which appear when love, creativity, and freedom are allowed to grow. The next literary device, which is quite important, is the rhetorical question. The poem has four rhetorical questions. The earth asks these questions not to get answers, but to show that human joy, creativity, curiosity, and sexuality are being unfairly forced to stay hidden. First, she asks if delight can bring the virgins of youth and morning while it is chained in night. Here, delight represents love, happiness, creativity, and freedom. If it were free, it would fill the world with youth. innocence, and hope. But because it is imprisoned in darkness, it cannot do this. The answer to the question is no. In the next stanza, the earth asks more questions. Does spring feel ashamed when flowers bloom? Does the sour plant seeds only at night? Does the plowman prepare the fields in darkness? The obvious answer to all these questions is no. So these actions are natural, so there is no reason to hide them. In the same way, the poem suggests that human love and desire are natural and should not be hidden or suppressed. The last literary device present over here is repetition. Repetition in the poem makes the earth's message stronger and more urgent. For example, the earth repeats the idea of the father of men. I hear the father of the ancient men, selfish father of men. Here is the repetition of selfish father, the father of the ancient men. This repetition keeps the focus on this father figure who may represent the strict God of the Old Testament or organized religion. The repeated word selfish, a device called diacope, emphasizes that this father is cruel and uncaring about earth's happiness. The poem also uses parallel structure to strengthen its ideas. In the fourth stanza, several rhetorical questions begin with does. This repetition that comes under anaphora shows that the earth is repeating the same argument in different ways to make her point clear. The poem also uses polyptoton in these lines. Does the sower sow by night, or the plowman plow in darkness plow? Here, the same root words are repeated: sower and sow, plowman and plow. This shows how these workers are naturally connected to their work. Since sowing and plowing are natural activities, it would be strange for them to hide their work. In the same way, the poem suggests that people should not feel ashamed of love, joy, or physical desire because these are natural parts of life. With this, we move on to the form, meter, and rhyme scheme of this poem. Let us first talk about form. Earth's answer has five stanzas, and each stanza has five lines called quatrains. Most stanzas follow a similar rhyme pattern and rhythm, which gives the poem a sense of order and unity. The poem is mainly a speech by the earth, which is personified as a woman. She complains about being imprisoned by the father of the ancient men. Stanza 1 introduces the situation. The rest of the poem is the earth speaking about her suffering. suffering. With this, we move on to the meter that is present in this poem. Okay, so the poem has special rhythm in each stanza. Line 1 has 3 stress beats, line 2 4 stress beats, line 3 2 stress beats, line 4 2 stress beats, line 5 4 stress. यानी के trimeter, tetrameter and diameter इसी के अंदर चल रहा है. For example, let's see the first stanza. Earth raised up her head. Okay, these are three stresses. From the darkness dread and bare, four stresses. Her light fled, two stresses. Okay, stony dread, two stresses. And her locks covered with grey despair, four stresses. All stanzas mostly follow this 3-4-2-2-4 pattern, which creates structure and rhythm. The short middle lines may suggest the earth being tightened or trapped in chains. With this, we move on to the rhyme scheme. The poem mostly follows a similar rhyme pattern. Stanzas 1 and 2 they follow A B double A B pattern, but later stanzas change slightly. A B C C B, stanza 3, stanza 4 A B C D B, stanza 5 A B double A B. Okay, so these are known as slight changes. देखें आप तीनों stanzas के अंदर 3 4 5 के अंदर A B and the final B are the same. Okay ना, फिर C C और C D के अंदर C is the same. Okay, so इतनी ज्यादा changes नहीं है ये. So some rhymes also repeat sounds from earlier stanzas, like the poem, linking the poem together. Overall, the rhyme makes the poem sound musical but not completely predictable. The short rhyming lines in the middle may also create a feeling of tightness or confinement, reflecting the Earth's imprisonment. With this, the analysis ends. If you've got any questions, please feel free